Welcome back, everyone, to episode 18 of Pro Player Plays PGA Tour 2K21. I hope you all had a great week, and I hope some of you northern states in the US or some of the colder places around the world are getting some better weather, because it's starting to get that time of year when golf's going to be played pretty much everywhere. So I'm super excited. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa originally, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time up there this summer. I'm going to be playing some tournaments around Iowa, South Dakota, and North Dakota. And I'm pretty excited to get back to some bent grass up there in the Midwest and play on some. I've been playing on Bermuda greens all year down in Georgia, so I'm excited to go back to Iowa, play on some good bent grass, and get in some nice weather that's a little less hot than maybe what Georgia's going to be. So I'm excited to do that. I hope you all are having a great time getting back into golf. And we are going to get back into this episode, or into this series rather, because last episode we finished hole number 6 over here. And I hope you all bared with me while I struggled through that episode. That was a mighty task getting that episode completed, but we did get it done, and I think the hole looks pretty good overall. We might make a few changes when we come back through and do some revisions at the end of all of this, but I'm pretty happy with where we got. I think it looks really good, especially for us, a hole going away from the sun. So without any further ado, let's get into hole number 8 here, because hole number 8, we are looking to build a pretty big par 4, and right now it is at only 420 yards, so we are going to change that right off the bat, because I want this hole to be about 485-ish, and I want to keep the general dogleg right to it. But we're going to move this green over to here, and then we can move this 9th tee box. And I think my plan is to make hole 9 a par 4, but I'm just going to put it here for now. I'm not too concerned with where hole 9 is. That's just where we're going to put it as a placeholder. We wanted hole 8 to be a bit longer because now that we're getting into some of these inland holes, I want the length to get cranked up quite a bit. And I'll get into a little bit later about what kind of style I'm going for with these holes. But I want it to get harder, and I want it to get longer is the better term for it. Not necessarily harder. I just want there to be more distance, and these would be the holes, the inland holes, that you would definitely see a lot more of the length on than some of these coastal holes. I want this green to be raised up, and I want there to be a big fall off short and a little bit long, and maybe long over here, left over here, and then short this way as well, with a big bunker kind of in the front here. And then I want this fairway to be pretty well raised up, and there's going to be a nice alley for the fairway. And what's going to happen is I want this tee shot to land up here, and if it stays up here, you've got a great angle to the green and you can see it. But then if it gets down here to the right, it goes a little bit further and a little bit closer to the green, but you're going to be blocked out by this big greenside bunker, and it's going to be like you won't be able to see the green from down at the bottom of the hill. So it's going to be a pretty highly contoured fairway, and we're going to have a couple visual hazards as well, and I'll get into those when I start building them. But for now, I want to get into actually sculpting this hole and getting the land ready for the surfaces that I'm going to place down. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to flatten this area and raise this up a bit, and I'm just going to get the hole sculpted generally to where I want it, so that I can start placing some surfaces. So let's get in there and let's sculpt this land up. That was a really important step in getting this hole prepared for what we were going to do, because this is generally how I want it to play. I want this left side to be raised up a little bit, and you've got a good angle and you can see the green, but then you get down here and it's good. Like you're still, I'm still going to have fairway. It's going to be a very wide fairway. But once you get down here, it's going to be a little bit below this area and you won't be able to see it as well. And it's just going to be one of those holes where you've got to decide, do I want a better angle and a little bit better of sight, Or do I want that extra yardage, but maybe a trickier golf shot into the green? So I want to talk a little bit about what I want these next few holes to look like. And I say a few, but really we've got hole 8 through 16 that are all inland. And I think I want the tone of this course to change a little bit. And I've been going for a pretty realistic take on this golf course as I've been going along here. Like, it's not 100% perfect. Like, I've been saying that we're kind of in a sea island area, but you'd never see a big slope like this at a course in Sea Island. I think this is a little exaggerated for what you'd see, and I think the tone would definitely shift from these coastal holes up into these inland holes. And I like a little bit of what we've done here. We're going to do more of this kind of style of planting along the sides, and they're just going to be more I've been using Sea Island kind of, that's what I've said is the inspiration for this course, but a lot of, it's a course called Congaree, and that's actually where I played the PGA Tour event this past summer, and a lot of those holes, I really like a lot of those holes, and it's definitely been creeping into this design. So I think I'm actually, for 8 through 16, Congaree and a little bit of Palmetto as well. Palmetto Golf Club in Aiken, South Carolina. It's a course I play a lot. Those have kind of been some of the more influential courses that I'm going to try and model some of these inland holes after. So the tone is definitely going to shift from these coastal holes, and we're going to get into some more inland, a little bit more of this scraggly look along the sides, and obviously not relying on the water to define some of these holes. So that's kind of the look we're going for as we get into hole number 8 and all the way through 16. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We have got hole 8 to get after, so let's stay focused here. And I really like what we've done. We are ready to put down this green, because this green is going to go up here, and it's going to be pretty well above this fairway that's going to be down in this area, and it's going to be a pretty steep runoff. And it's pretty reminiscent of a couple holes at Congaree. The green I'm kind of modeling after hole number 7 at Palmetto Golf Club. It's a par 3, and it's got just this, it's a pretty narrow green. I'm not going to make it as small as that green is, because I'm hoping to have a little bit longer of an iron in, but it's definitely going to have that big fall off. Well, it'll be to the left. The hole at Palmetto is to the right, but we are going to try and emulate that kind of style for the approach shot into this green. So I'm going to start laying this green surface, and I'm going to get this area sculpted up about the way that I want it to look once we start laying the other surfaces down. I've got this green laid down, and I've got this bunker right in front, and I think it does a great job. So the fairway is going to be half up on this tier, and you can see a lot of the green, and you can see over the bunker pretty well. And this is a lot better of a sight, and a little bit better of an angle as well. That bunker's not quite blocking it as much. But then you get down here, and that bunker is right in the way, and you can't really see anything, but you do get a little extra yardage. So you can reward yourself by hitting it up here and maybe leaving yourself a bit longer of a shot in, but a little bit better of an angle. And then if you're down here, it is obviously just not as good of an angle over that bunker, and you get a little bit more green to work with though. So I I don't want to make it too demanding of a hole. It is a 485 yard par 4, is that right? 493 yard par 4. I want about a 6 or a 5 iron into the green. That's kind of the goal with this hole. And that's how we're going to design for it, is that you've got a little bit longer of an iron in, so the green is a little bit bigger than all of the greens that we have on the rest of the course. And we're going to make the fairway pretty wide as well. We want to be pretty generous with that. So I really like this green setup that we've got. Now I want to turn my attention to building this fairway out and also putting in the key bunkers that are going to frame this hole up. And the first one that I'm going to place is actually this front bunker here. I'm going to have a bunker out here at about 205 yards, 210 yards, something like that, and it's not going to be in play at all. It serves completely as a visual hazard, but I just want it to be blocking some of the sight line down this right side and make people go out this way a little bit more, and then if they want to take on this bunker, they can get rewarded, but maybe it's a little bit of a trick that maybe this is actually the better spot to hit it, and you actually have to push it up against these bunkers that I'm going to have lining this side, kind of the waist cart path bunker look that we've had going on over here. And then I've got to have a big framing bunker back here as well, so that we've got the visual hazard of it going long, but I also don't really want it to be in play. I want this tee shot to actually be pretty easy. And it's going to probably be a pretty wide fairway as well. So let's get in there and let's place a couple of these bunkers so that we can finally get this fairway placed down and we know where those bunkers are generally going to go. So let's get in there and place those bunkers. All the bunkers have been placed, and I think this tee shot is really starting to come together. It definitely, you can see that this right bunker right there is really guarding that right side of the fairway that's going to be dropped down. So you're only going to be able to see about half the fairway. It's not actually going to be a tough tee shot, but I just like that little bit of visual interest in the fact that you can only see a little bit of it, and you've just got to trust that you're going to be able to hit this fairway or hit a good shot. Or if you challenge these bunkers, give yourself a little bit better of an angle into the green. And that's kind of the design we're going for here. We want it to be a little bit longer, a little bit bigger of a target with the green, but we also want it to be interesting. We don't want the long holes to get boring. It tends to happen with long par 4s, where you just get these big holes and there's not really that much strategy involved, or there's not that much consideration that goes into any shot. You're just like, yep, step up, blast driver, step up, blast up, 4-iron, 3-wood, whatever, you hit a big club. And it just gets a little mundane if you play a long golf course that doesn't have some of these visual interest points and some of these tricky decisions or things that you just have to trust, which is a blind tee shot like you've got down here to the right. Let's get in there and let's start building up this fairway a little bit, because we want to get that surface laid so that we can sculpt it a little bit and that we can get it looking the way that we want to. One thing that I am going to work on with this fairway that I think is going to be probably about the trickiest part of the whole thing is I'm going to leave this section where it's really brown right here, where it's that rocky face. I am going to make this a rough little, it's going to be a strip of rough, because I don't really want there to be fairway on that. That's too steep of a slope. You wouldn't very often see a fairway slope this much. There are definitely places that do it, and Palmetto is a perfect example of one of those courses that has plenty of slopes that are this steep. but I'm going to steer clear of that for now. I am going to leave this as rough, and then I'm going to have fairway down here. And I haven't decided if I'm going to try and squeeze some fairway in up here as well, but we might try and do that. Placing this fairway is actually going to be a little bit tricky. We might do it piecemeal style. Just do this section up here, do this little section and connect them up, and just kind of piece together this, cobble together this fairway so that we get the effect that we're looking for with some of this rough strips here and around this bunker. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get this fairway placed so that we can get it in a good spot to get the rest of this hole completed so that it's ready to plant. Let's do it. Let's get rid of some of these distance markers and see how this fairway is looking, because I think we're in a pretty good spot. I think that looks really good. We've got this left side of the fairway that's poking out, so it gives it that look that it's almost like this is the fairway over here and this is about all you have. But there's going to be plenty of fairway down here. Now, I do have a bit of sculpting to do, so let's get in there. I'm going to try and sculpt this out a little bit because I'd like this top area to measure at about 30 yards-ish. At 20, let's go with 28. I want this all to be flat up in here, all the way until about this spine right there. It gets a little bit tighter up there, and then we're going to have this come down to about the same distance. We could go a little bit further with that one. We want all of that to be about the same height. And we are going to have to, I want it to gently slope right, but I don't want it to be kicking all the way down until it's all the way over to here. So I want it to be a pretty tight tee shot if you're going to keep it up on this upper tier. So let's flatten this up a little bit and try and get this to look a little bit better. Okay, we've got this left side all sculpted up, and that is looking pretty good. Now, we've got to make sure that there is a flat enough area to where when this ball rolls down the hill, that it's actually going to be in an okay spot, and it's going to be in the fairway. So let's try and flatten this up a bit. This might end up being a pretty severe hill in the middle of the fairway, and we might have to tone it back a little bit, but here we go. Let's try and get this all flat and see if this can actually work. And if we can get it, I think it's going to be pretty nice. What do we think about that? That is... Can't decide. I mean, it's a pretty wide fairway. From here down to here, 20 yards. You know what? We're just going to go in and let's play test it and see what happens when you hit this hill. Alright, we're going to land it right on this hill. I have it on beginner difficulty because I'm terrible at this game. But that's already been established. Let's see what happens when it lands on this hill. Does it get... Oh, it goes all the way to the rough. We can't have that. I think it's a bit excessive at the moment, actually. I think this hill is too big. I like the big swales in the fairway, but that is just... You can't even hold the fairway if you landed on the right side of that. So we're going to have to raise up this right side a little bit, and that is totally okay. Let's get that raised up and make this fairway look just that little bit better. Alright, we have definitely made this less severe over here, so let's jump in and let's play test this again and see if this ball landing in the middle of that tier is actually going to stay in the fairway. It looks like it should, or at least looks like it's going to stay pretty close to the fairway if you land it right in the center of it. And I'm okay with that because that's like you landing in the dead center of that piece of the fairway, of that ridge. So if we can get it to land, let's get it to land right here and see what happens with it. So see, it stays in the fairway there, and you have to get unlucky if you just land in the middle of the fairway and it kicks off to the right. So I think that looks a little bit better, and I think it plays a little bit better, which is the most important part of it. We've got this fairway looking good over here, and I like that this fairway on the left here with the yellow distance markers is sticking out from around this bunker. I think that's a great look, and it's exactly what I wanted this tee shot to look like. I'm not quite so certain of this right area, but I think it's okay for now. I'm going to leave it for a second. I'm going to go in and let me clean up a couple of these rough edges that I got around here. I definitely got this little spot that's kind of messed up and a little funky, so I'm just going to go and do some general cleaning around this hole, and then we can start getting after a little bit of this green as well. We can start getting that sculpted and getting this area looking a little bit more the way that we want it to look. Got a lot of the rough edges cleaned up on this hole, so now let's start focusing in on this green. So the first thing I want to do is I want to raise it up just that little bit more so that this is a little bit of a runoff onto the fairway, and I think that is going to help quite a bit. I also think this front section is going to be raised up to kind of match the level of this bunker. I don't want such a big runoff. That's obviously super excessive, but I want it to be a little bit of a front tier here, and then it rolls back to a back tier. And I want some kind of backstop as well over here, so that if you do hit it up this left side, you can use it, but it'll be tougher to use if you get down into this bowl. And that is what we're going for with this green. So let me try, let's raise up this little back section here. Green is set up here nicely. I don't mind this little runoff here. I think that's actually probably what I'm going to end up leaving anyway. But let's get this front section kind of raised up a bit more than this back section, because I think I do want it to slope just gently from back to front. Not a ton, but just enough so that it's running away from the player if you're from down here. And if you're from here, give it that little bit of extra benefit. That's what we're trying to go for. We're trying to make this as enticing as possible to get it up into this area so that you have the best angle in. So that's what our aim is as we're going through and sculpting this green. So now we're going to try and raise up this little back section here, and we're going to try and give ourselves a backstop if you're coming from the left, and not as much if you're coming from the right. So let's get this built up and see if we can get that to work. Yes, I'm thinking that's going to be pretty good. We're going to have to play test this a good bit to get this to work the way that we want to, but that is certainly more of a backstop for the left side of the fairway than it is for the right side of the fairway. Let me also raise up this little part of it as well. Get this whole side here raised up. And I might tone this down just a little bit more. So I'm gonna flatten it kind of this way, just so that it's not so far into the green. I still want to leave some pin positions up here to the front right. And I think that looks really good. And I like this little back bowl collection area too. That is going to be very penalizing. If you go after this flag and you do happen to hit it over, you're going to have a very difficult shot up and over this tier, which I think is great. I think that's perfectly the way that we want this hole to be designed. Let's get into some of this back section of the green. It's not going to be as sloped as this is, but we definitely want to be cognizant that this is going to be a long shot in, especially to a back pin. I mean, it's probably going to play over 500 yards, so we're going to need to have it at the back especially be raised up so that it's catching some of these balls and it's sloped from back to front. We don't want to have the whole green be running away from players as they're hitting 5, 4, even hybrids into this green. And there we go. I think this green is actually looking really good. I took a lot of time and I wanted to make sure I was very thoughtful about how I built it. And I think this back section is going to be well used, and I think this front section is also going to be a good pin that definitely favors this left side and gives you more of a shot into it over that bunker versus this right section that's going up and over it. I think it's going to be much tougher to hold that pin. So let's do a little bit of play testing here. I'm going to set out the pins that I'm thinking. Let's put pin 1. Let's put pin 1 down into here, kind of in this front left section. I don't think this is the easiest pin either. It brings in this left bowl. If you're down here, you've got almost no shot because this fairway is going to be very difficult to get up and down from. Let's go over here, add pin position 2. I might throw this one back into this corner here. And then we're going to put pin 3 over here into the spot that we were talking about. We don't want it to be too tough. It's a long hole, so we're going to put it right about there. And keep forgetting too that I can just add pin 4 and put it right in this back corner. Perfect. So let's play test to pin number 3 here. And I'm going to try one from, let's get it from about this spot right here. You hit it about 308 off the tee. Let's play it from right up here. All right, you've got 177 to the flag, and this is a 5-iron in this game, so that's good. Let's land it about here and see what we can do with it. Very nice. And it easily comes back towards the flag. That is not too difficult. These greens are not as firm because I really wanted this par 4 to be able to be driven and be able to hold the green. And so that is something to consider as well, is that we actually do have a lot of room to land that ball and keep it up close by the pin. So let's try and hit the same shot from about the same yardage. Let's put it right here and let's see if we can hold that, or if it's a little bit more difficult down here to where you can't see the pin. And see, I think this is going to roll more to the left now. And it still comes back a decent bit. So let's tone that hill down just a bit. And let's get it to roll more towards the center of the green than actually get close to the flag. So right here, this is a little bit much. It's a little bit too sloped back towards the pin. So I am going to lower this down just a little bit. There we go. I think that is going to play a lot better, and I am really liking this green complex. I think it makes a ton of sense with the length of the hole and also the style, of course, that we've gone for, which is some pretty crazy greens, and we've got a couple big bumps in there, and I'm very happy with that. Now, all that we have left to do is place some of these tee boxes. Let's get a couple more tee boxes. We have this box right about here, and I'm going to have to sculpt this one out. And then I'm going to try to place one more about here-ish. I need to raise up this land. I kind of forgot I needed more tee boxes as I was building this hole. So I'm going to build those out, and I'm going to attach these bunkers to these bigger bunkers here. We still want these bunkers surrounding the hole, and this side might be only trees, actually, this right side, but this left side is definitely going to have waste bunker all the way down and around here, connecting up to wherever I decide to put this ninth tee. But yeah, let's go in there and let's get this hole basically done, so that all we have left to do is plant this thing. So let's get these tee boxes in and finish off this waste bunker. Just like that, everybody, we have got the bare bones of hole number 8 completed. I think that we are fully ready to start planting this thing. One thing I wanted to mention is that this right side over here, I am not 100% sure what I want to put, because I'm debating on whether or not I want to put trees down this right side to give it that visual intimidation, and then you can't see the green from the tee box. But I also really like the idea of you being able to stand here and see the green way out there to the right, but only see the fairway to the left. And it's almost like I feel like I can cut this more. I can get it down into this area and then get into a worse spot for an approach shot. I haven't decided. I am debating back and forth, so I actually just decided to leave this here to the right for now. I am going to come back, and in the next episode, when I start planting this thing, I am going to get down and I'm going to figure out exactly what kind of sightline I want to have off this tee, and if that includes the green and that greenside bunker or not. That's kind of the point we're going to leave it today, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this hole down in the comments below. Do you like what I did with this fairway? Do you think it's a bit much, or do you think that it's a cool kind of risk-reward fairway even though it's 50 yards wide? That's what I like about it, but I'd love to hear your opinions about it down in the comment section below. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy this content, and we'll keep these episodes coming. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Have a great day.